Om. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Hari Om, Jai Gurudev. So we will just see a paragraph before. I will just read the shloka first and then we will start about meditation on Parameshwara. Samam kaya shiro grivam dharayannachalam sthirah samprekshyanasikagram swam dishaschanavalokayan prashantatma vigatabhihi brahmachari vrate sthitah manah संयम्य मच्चित्तो युक्त आसीत मत्परः. Holding oneself firm without moving, holding the body, head and neck in one straight line as though looking at the tip of one's nose and looking in directions, being the one whose mind is tranquil, who is free from fear, established in one's commitment to the life of a brahmachari. May that yogi meditator sit thinking of me, having me as the ultimate goal. So Mata Chitta Mat Para. Bhagwan is being little possessive, right? Only thought about me and me alone. The two Mahavakyas that our Atma is Satchita Ananda and you are that Brahman, you are that, and I am Brahman. Tat Tvam Asi Aham Brahmasmi. Shamyatam.
Please unmute yourself, Bella.
The screen is visible, I hope, because it is disappearing.
Yeah, it is visible.
Okay. Should I start, Brahmaraji, from meditation on Parameshwara, or you want me to repeat few more?
I think that should be done. That should be fine.
Yeah, meditation on Parameshwara.
Yeah.
Meditation on Parameshwara. The nature of time is nothing but the trick of the Mayavi, another name for the great magician Ishvara, who is the agent, Karta of Shrishti, Sthiti and Laya. If you absorb your mind in this Parameshwara, it is called Saguna Brahma Dhyana. To do this, you meditate on the virtues of Parameshwara. Thus, for you, Parameshwara is one who is all compassion, all mercy, all Ananda. Or Parmeshwara is the one who is the creator, sustainer, and resolver of everything. Shrishti, Sthiti, Laya, Karta. In this way, any one virtue can be taken in its absolute sense and meditated upon. Or the meditation can be in the form of a simple prayer. Unto that Lord, my salutation. Parmeshwaraya Namaha. The word mat in the compound, mata chitta, can also mean Parmeshwara, the cause of everything, Parama Brahma. And that Brahman is Satya Jnana Ananta Brahma Atma. Here, the one whose mind is contemplating upon the Swarupa of the Atma, pure consciousness, is called Mata Chitta. With reference to this Chaitanya Atma, there are another revealing words also, words that reveal the Swarupa of Atma upon which you contemplate. With the help of these words, you contemplate upon the meaning, and this contemplation is called meditation. Meditation is not a technique. The person being discussed in this verse is also called mat para, another word that describes the person in terms of the object of meditation. The person who meditates in order to lower his or her blood pressure may be a blood pressure para, but he or she definitely is not mat para. People meditate for many reasons, for 100% spiritual success or 100% material success. This only proves that nothing is sacred. This also proves that meditation is not properly understood. Meditation is not a technique, meditation is life. Therefore, Krishna refers to the meditator as Mat Para, one for whom the Lord Parmeshwara is everything. The mind of such a person will stay with the object of meditation because there is nothing other than Parmeshwara, Paramatma to be gained. And this is everything. The one for whom what is to be accomplished is that Paramatma alone is called Mat Para, Krishna says. Shankara adds here that such a person is very careful in terms of the objects that he or she desires. For example, the person does not think of a particular woman or man as the ultimate end, para. Instead, this person has another para in that his or her mind is committed to Ishvara, the Lord, as the ultimate end. The Swarupa of Ishvara, the Paramatma, as the ultimate end, para, is called Paramapada, and the person who has this as the only pursuit is called Matpara. So beautifully, Bhagwan is describing Matpara and Matchitta. The ultimate end, the expression ultimate end can give rise to another problem if its meaning is not properly understood. Ultimate end does not mean ultimately I will reach that. In the meantime, I have other ends to reach. Thus, ultimate end is not to be interpreted here as an end to be gained later in time, like after retirement. The ultimate end is the predominant end, meaning there is no other end. All other so-called ends subserve this ultimate end. Everything one does is for the ultimate end alone. One even eats to gain this end alone, as Krishna says later. The study of Sanskrit also serves the same purpose. The study of Sanskrit is not so that you may become a Sanskrit scholar. I study whatever is to be studied as a discipline, as a means to gain access into what is being taught in the Vedanta Shastra. The ultimate end here is not to champion the cause of Ishvara in any way, although there are self-appointed champions who say they want to propagate Ishvara. Surely, Ishvara does not need any such help. By the very definition of Ishvara, he should be able to achieve whatever he wants to accomplish. He does not want you to champion him at all. If he wants to accomplish something, he can accomplish it without you. Your commitment is only to understand what Ishvara is. Ishvara, Paramatma, is the only end for the meditator, the Dhyana Yoga. His or her mind is lost in me. He is Mata Chitta, Krishna says here, speaking as Ishvara, the Lord. In the mind of this person who is Mata Chitta, the predominant object is Ishvara. Also, by calling the person Matpara, Krishna conveys the fact that Ishvara is something to be accomplished. In fact, Ishvara is the only end to be accomplished for this person. Both these words, Mattachitta and Matpara, indicate the person's exact understanding of what he or she wants to accomplish, to know. Further, Krishna says, Yunjannaivam sadatmanam yogi niyatmanasaha shantim nirvana paramam matsamsthamadhigacchati. I will just go a little faster since we have already covered this. Evam, in this manner, sada, always, atmanam, the mind, yunjan, connecting, niyatamanasah, the one whose mind is mastered, yogi, the meditator, nirvana paramam, that which is the ultimate liberation, mat samstham, that which is centered on me, shantim, peace, adhigacchati, gains. Evam sada atmanam yunjan niyatamanasah yogi nirvana paramam mat samsthanam Kshamyata mat samstham shantim adhigacchati. Always connecting the mind in this manner, the meditator, the one whose mind is mastered, gains the peace which is centered on me, which is in the form of an absorption in me, which is the ultimate liberation. In this verse, Krishna mentions the ultimate end to be gained as a result of Dhyana Yoga meditation. Here the word sada, always, may raise the question, when does the meditator have time for other activities such as eating, bathing and sleeping? Sada here simply indicates that the person does not waste time using whatever time is available for this particular pursuit. Atma here refers to the mind which is always connected in this manner. Yunjan evam sada atmanam, meaning in all the ways already described, starting from finding the place and preparing the seat, etc. Shuchau dese, chaila ajina, kushotaram. The mind is, it is already in the chapter 6, verse 11, I think, 11. The mind is connected, absorbed in Brahman, which is Parameshwara, Paramatma, the Swarupa of Atma. And how does one connect the mind to the Swarupa of Atma? Through contemplative words, Shabda, which is why words are so important. Through a word, you can connect yourself to Atma. And what kind of words? In contemplation, we make use of revealing words. words that reveal the Swarupa of Atma and thereby connect the mind to Atma. Yunjan means meditating or connecting the mind, the Antahkarana, to the object of meditation, which in fact is the act of meditating. In this verse, the person is again described as one who has mastered the mind, one whose mind is tranquil, whose mind is absorbed. Niyata Manasa. And what does this Niyata Manasa yogi gain? Meditating, the person comes to understand properly what is being said. All that is taught becomes clear because there are no obstructions for the person. Therefore, the teaching becomes real and he or she gains shanti. Shantim adhigachati. The meaning of shanti. Shanti usually means peace. Does this mean that after doing meditation, all you will get out of it is the same peace that can be gained from a tranquilizer or a shot of something? No, this Shanti is not that kind of peace. It is Mat Samstha and Nirvana Parama. In his commentary, Shankara defined Shanti as Uparati. Uparati meaning resolution or Sarva Karma Sannyasa, wherein doership and enjoyership are renounced as discussed at length previously. Nirvana means moksha. Therefore, this is a Shanti that has its basis in moksha. It is moksha Shanti itself. And what is this moksha Shanti? There are three types of Shanti. One Shanti is where there is no thinking whatsoever, which can be induced so that the frequency of thinking is cut down. Another Shanti is when you enjoy a Shanti along with a certain capacity to manage an active mind. This is important because you need the mind in order to think. The first Shanti, which is freedom from thinking, can only be temporary and requires a lot of inducements. This Shanti is that which is there between the two thoughts or between two spells of agitation. Whereas the second Shanti is there when there is a certain distance between yourself and the mind, whatever be the situation. And because of this, you are able to manage your affairs with a certain amount of composure. And the third Shanti is moksha, wherein the mind becomes a privilege. Whatever the mind is, it is me, but I am not the mind. This knowledge is the freedom, total freedom. You do not control the mind. You do not take the mind somewhere. Rather, wherever the mind goes, the person always has this knowledge. Then the person is truly a devotee because wherever the mind is, there the Lord is for this person. So beautifully. Anyone would like to share three types of Shanti? The first Shanti is temporary and it can be the freedom from thinking. You just get temporary freedom, which can be experienced between the two thoughts or between the two spells of agitation. Second Shanti is when you are being the witness to a situation and trying to observe. So this will give some amount of composure. And the third Shanti is moksha, which is the ultimate freedom, where wherever you don't have need to take your mind, but wherever the mind goes, the person has the in a knowledge that it is there is Lord wherever the mind is, wherever I am, there is Lord all around me. Anyone would like to share?
In the previous, yeah, very nicely summarized. In the previous paragraphs, I think it was, whatever you do is for Parameshwara alone, including arranging your seat, um, eating your food, everything. So that is that Matchitta and Matpara. So that when whatever you're doing, even your breathing is for is you're remembering Parameshwara. Keep him as the ultimate end. So that ultimate end is the predominant end. It is not something that you will accomplish like what Swamiji mentioned after a while, after you become old. It is not in time. It is every moment. Every moment if you are there in that in the your mind is occupied with nothing but Parameshwara. You're in that joy. So
Sada,
basically it
Sada.
is living in the moment. It's again bringing us back to the fact that living in the moment is what it is.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. I love the word niyata manasa.
Niyata
That,
Manasa.
yeah, niyata manasa. So beautiful word that he is always absorbed in the thought of
Mm.
Parameshwara. That's why when we see Gurudev doing puja, we fall into meditation the way he does, isn't it?
Mm.
Yes, well, the Niyata Manasa, when I heard something happened to me in my stomach, something happened. That word is
Yeah,
some energy, it has. Yeah.
very true. And the way Swamiji describes it is like itself is so blissful, very beautiful. It is the way he describes.
That is again reiterating how words are important for us
Yeah,
um, to show us the way. Words, the pramana is therefore so important.
very true. And then our daily affairs also becomes with this knowledge. They also become like a prayer only. Whatever you do as a prayer only, whatever.
That is again bringing us back to the yajna bhav that we learned in chapter 3 in Karma Yoga. Whatever we're doing it with that yajna bhav, prayerful
Yes,
attitude.
very true.
Brahmarpanam brahmahavihi brahmagno brahmanahutam brahmaiva tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhi. So everything is Brahman alone. What a
Mm.
lovely way to uh, lead a life. So there is no, you're not dislodging the idea of meditation. Meditation is life. So
Yeah,
meditation is not a technique there. Meditation is life. Every moment you're in that space.
yeah. And it's beyond religion, beyond everything it is. You don't need to confine yourself to particular place or situation. It is such a simple fact and such beautiful, so blissful. Knowledge-based devotion. To express this knowledge-based devotion, there are many stories. One such story is about a great devotee of Lord Shiva. One day he came and found a sadhu sleeping with his feet placed on a linga. For anyone to do such a thing, let alone a sadhu, is a desecration. Therefore, the devotee shouted angrily at the sadhu, "Wake up! How can you dare to put your feet on the linga?" To this, the sadhu replied, "I am very old. I am tired and sleepy. I have no strength to move my feet. Therefore, please put my feet wherever you want. I cannot lift them. Then the devotee picked up the sadhu's feet and moved them away from the linga. But to his surprise, another linga appeared under the sadhu's feet. Confused, he moved the sadhu's feet again. But wherever he placed them, yet another linga appeared in that very place. Then he understood that there is no place where the Lord is not. In other words, there is no place to put one's feet that is not the Lord. Similarly, wherever the mind goes, it remains in the Lord's presence. There is no question of getting the mind out of or into anything here. To make this point, a seeker in the Brihadaranya Upanishad said, it is as though the mind has gone away and therefore I am as though meditating. There a footnote. Dhyayati eva lelayati eva. That is the shloka. Dhyayati eva lelayati eva. Brihadaranya Upanishad reference. I will just read that paragraph again. Similarly, wherever the mind goes, it remains in the Lord's presence. There is no question of getting the mind out of or into anything here. To make this point, a seeker in the Brihadaranya Upanishad said, it is as though the mind has gone away and therefore I am as though meditating. For the as though gone away mind, as though meditation is good enough. And when the as though becomes clear to you, then the mind does not go away and therefore does not require any meditation. This is the Shanti called Nirvana Parama Shanti, Moksha. The Shanti that is one's Swarupa, in which there is no coming and going, no degrees of or variations, and for which no comparison to anything is possible. This line is so beautiful. I'll read once again. This is the Shanti called Nirvana Parama Shanti, Moksha. The Shanti that is one's Swarupa, in which there is no coming and going, no degrees or variations, and for which no comparison to anything is possible. The Shanti that is oneself. Because this Shanti is identical with oneself, Krishna described it as Mat Samstha, meaning Mat Adhina. That which always obtains in the Paramatma. Because Paramatma does not move at any time. It is Kutastha, immutable. It does not get involved with anything and does not stand opposed to anything either. If there is opposition, there is some rub or resistance, which is Ashanti. Shanti is identical with Paramatma in that it is not opposed to thought. It is not opposed to the world. It is not opposed to knowledge. It is not opposed to ignorance. It is not opposed to anything. At the same time, it lends itself to everything. Thus, the meditator gains this Shanti, this freedom or liberation. Mat adhinam shantim adhigacchati. So beautiful. So I will read this line again, this paragraph. The Shanti that is oneself. Because this Shanti is identical with oneself, Krishna describes it as Mat Samstha, meaning Mat Adhina, that which always obtains in the Paramatma, because Paramatma does not move at any time It is kutastha, immutable. It does not get involved with anything and does not stand opposed to anything either. If there is opposition, there is some rub or resistance, which is ashanti. Shanti is identical with Paramatma in that it is not opposed to thought, it is not opposed to the world, it is not opposed to knowledge, it is not opposed to ignorance, it is not opposed to anything. At the same time, it lends itself to everything. Thus, the meditator gains this Shanti, this freedom or liberation. Mat adhinam shantim adhigachati. So beautiful.
So beautiful, This we can find on the face of Guruji. What a peaceful, that whenever even he speaks so soft and always with that shanti on his face, we could find that. I have that, I don't know, I have that, captured that moment. I cannot forget that.
And same
Whatever
Shanti you
question,
see even in Dalai Lama or whoever, I mean, those who are all siddhas, the same Shanti you feel.
No, whenever you ask any agitated question also, that peace,
Composure.
which reflects a composer, that reflects on Guruji, wow, I've not seen with anyone. Because the way he speaks also, the way that Param Shanti is on his face. That really, we can imagine that this whole paragraph is described in that, I feel
It's a space which is beyond the opposites. That is why it is not opposed to anything. It's not opposed to ignorance. It's
also.
not opposed to knowledge. It's not opposed to anything. It is that beautiful space which is the source, which is the one, and that is immutable. That kutastha, the term kutastha itself brings you to that the understanding of stillness. It does not move.
Achalam. Achalam.
And so it's immutable.
That's why their presence also makes us feel so relaxed. Nirvana Parama Shanti not depend upon the condition of the mind, whereas the Shanti that depends on one's mental state is always subject to being disturbed. I will read once again. Nirvana Parama Shanti does not depend upon the condition of the mind, whereas the Shanti that depends on one's mental state is always subject to becoming disturbed. Please remember this sentence for Manana. Here, Atma is called Shanta because it is a description, a lakshana, revealing the nature of Atma. This must be clearly understood. This Shanti is not something that sticks to Atma as an attribute, like the blue of a blue pot. An attribute, Visheshana, distinguishes an object from all other objects belonging to the same species. Otherwise, attributes are not required. For example, if all pots were blue, you would not need to use the word blue. Attributes, by definition, can be perceived. When we say Atma is Shanta, the Shanti in Atma is not something that is perceivable, but the word itself points out the nature of Atma. Therefore, it is a Lakshana, not an attribute of Atma. This is such an important paragraph. I'll read once again. An attribute,
You
Visheshana.
read from that Nirvana, please. You read from
Okay. Nirvana Paramashanti does not depend upon the condition of the mind, whereas the Shanti that depends on one's mental state is always subject to becoming disturbed. Here, Atma is called Shanta because it is a description, a Lakshana, revealing the nature of Atma. This must be clearly understood. This Shanti is not something that sticks to Atma as an attribute, like the blue of a blue pot. An attribute, Visheshana, distinguishes an object from all other objects belonging to the same species. Otherwise, attributes are not required. For example, if all pots were blue, you would not need to use the word blue. Attributes by definition can be perceived. When we say Atma is Shanta, the Shanti in Atma is not something that is perceivable, but the word itself points out the nature of Atma. Therefore, it is a Lakshana, not an attribute. Satyachit Ananda is our Lakshana. It is not an attribute, it is the very nature. So
It is not an
attribute,
adjective. It is not
yeah,
Visheshana. It is a Lakshana.
yeah. Superimposition and its negation. The conditions of the mind, like agitation, are superimpositions on Atma, which is Chaitanya, consciousness, that which obtains in all conditions and is independent of all conditions, free of all conditions. Words like Shanta negate the superimposition, revealing the Swarupa of Atma as something independent of the Ashanti that is superimposed upon Atma when we say Atma is Ashanta. I will read once again. Superimposition and its negation. The conditions of the mind, like agitation, are superimpositions on Atma, which is Chaitanya, consciousness, that which obtains in all conditions and is independent of all conditions, free of all conditions. Words like Shanta negate the superimposition, revealing the Swarupa of Atma as something independent of the Ashanti that is superimposed upon Atma when we say Atma is Ashanta. So beautiful. Therefore, this
So it is
Shanti
like
is
you're going to the substratum. It is like you're connecting with the depths of the ocean, and you're not identifying with the wave that arises. The wave is only like a superimposition of the water that the ocean is. We're identifying ourselves with the waters of the ocean and not just the wave. The wave is like the superimpositions of all the different upadhis. It could be mind, intellect, ego, memory, any of that. So you go beyond the cause of all of this, the source of all of this.
so all typhoons and all those things are also superimpositions
Yeah,
which occur in the ocean. They are all
isn't it?
superimpositions.
It is all there. It is all
Yeah.
in the ocean. They're all the principle of the ocean has in it the it has the calmness of the ocean when there are no waves. It also
Mm.
has the turbulence of the ocean with respect to a tsunami. So all of this is nothing but the play and display of consciousness.
Wow.
So when we're meditating, we're going to that level where you you connect with that the ultimate principle and not just the superimpositions which are superficial. That
So
is
the
why it is
girl,
there that beautiful statement.
yeah, that The
it does
term
not depend on the
Ashanti.
state of your mind. If it's a state of mind, it will change. It'll be like a yo-yo. When you're happy, it'll be fine. If you're sad, it'll be sad. So it is beyond the state of the mind.
Therefore, the term Ashanti is itself is a superimposition, not the real one.
Yes, it is.
That way.
You're superimposing. Because the Lakshana of Atma is Satchidananda. And you're connecting with that.
So beautiful. Therefore, this Shanti is not a conditional Shanti. It is a Swarupa Shanti. Because it is not conditional, it is called Swarupa. Atma is free from any form of vritti, thought, even though vrittis are not free from Atma. When the vrittis happen and there is an appreciation of Atma as Aham Shanta, the vrittis do not disturb the Shanta Atma. This is what is meant by Nirvana Parama Shanti, a Shanti that is purely in the form of knowledge recognition. This is a takeaway sentence. I will read this paragraph again. Therefore, this Shanti is not a conditional Shanti. It is a Swarupa Shanti. Because it is not conditional, it is called Swarupa. Atma is free from any form of vritti, thought, even though vrittis are not free from Atma. Brahmaraji later kindly explained this. Vrittis are not free from Atma.
See, unless the Atma is there, there is no vritti, no? Atma is there independent of the vritti, but vrittis are not independent of Atma. Vrittis are dependent on Atma. Vrittis happen in the mind, isn't it? And where
Yes.
is the mind? The mind has no independent existence apart from the Atma. The Atma, whereas, is independent of all of this. Because Atma is, we have the mind.
Correct.
See,
So therefore the vrittis are dependent on the Atma. Atma is free from the vritti.
for anything to superimpose, you should have something, no? So, that Atma is there. So, vrittis need Atma. But Atma doesn't have any vrittis. We are
Like for instance,
superimposing it.
correct. Like for instance, take the ocean and the wave. If you consider the ocean as Atma, the ocean is independent of the wave. But the wave is always dependent on the ocean. There is no wave without the ocean. And every bit of the ocean is there. I mean, the wave is nothing but the substance of the ocean. So I think that way, I hope it is.
Yeah.
Yes, that is what once Swamiji has told, no? We have to think wave as not wave. We have to think wave as water. He had mentioned earlier.
So I will read the line.
So
Therefore,
if
this.
we consider, sorry, I just want to interject here.
Sorry.
Just as you're reading, as we're understanding, even the questions coming up, all our interpretations, all this is nothing but Atma. All this is nothing but Parameshwara. It is all this is happening in that space of Parameshwara. So that again brings us to that Yunjan Atma. Is that the term? Or Matpara?
Yes,
Matchitta.
Yunjanna. Mat
Yunjan,
chitta, mat para.
Matchitta,
That
Matpara.
stage happens when you are united with that.
Right. So everything we're doing is happening in that space of, in that substratum of Atma. Which is why, see, all this is happening in time, isn't it? We're all doing this in time. We start on time, and all this discussion, Manana, everything is happening in time. All this actually, when you look at it with respect to time, is mithya. But then it is there dancing on the substratum of Satya, which is the Atma. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. That, so this, the only thing which is separating this, which is giving us this so-called reality, we look at it as though it is real, is the veil of Maya. It is only a superimposition. If you remember our Tattva Bodh, where um, we learned how Atma Satyam Tadanyat Sarvam Mithyeti.
Jagat mithya.
Yeah.
Satyam is which is not changing, That is what Nityam, Achalam, Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam. You see, that word, so good it is. One words are so nice. Nityam, Achalam, Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam. Bhavatitam, Triguna Rahitam. So wonderful.
That's so beautiful. The conditions of the mind, like agitation. No, I was in the vritti, sorry. Therefore, the second paragraph, therefore, this Shanti is not a conditional Shanti, it is Swarupa Shanti. Because it is not conditional, it is called Swarupa. Atma is free from any form of vritti, thought, even though vrittis are not free from Atma. When the vrittis happen and there is an appreciation of Atma as Aham Shanta, the vrittis do not disturb the Shanta Atma. This is what is meant by Nirvana Paramashanti, a Shanti that is purely in the form of knowledge, recognition. The one who recognizes oneself as the Paramatma and understands the Swarupa Shanti of Paramatma is said to have gained this Shanti because he or she has gained the knowledge. Such a person is called yogi here, not in terms of the eightfold yoga called Ashtanga Yoga, but purely in terms of the knowledge alone. In the next verse, Krishna points out certain other conditions that make a life of a contemplation possible. Natyashnatastu yogosti na chaikantamanashnatah na chati swapnashilasya jagrato naiva cha Arjuna. Arjuna, O Arjuna, atyashnatah. For one who eats too much, indeed. Yoga na asti, meditation is not. Cha, and na ekantam anashnatah, not for one who does not eat adequately at all. Cha, and na ati swapnashilasya, not for one who sleeps too much. Cha, and eva, indeed. Na jagratah, not for one who is always awake. So very important verse for all of us. Arjuna atyashnatah tu yogah na asti cha na ekantam anashnatah cha na atiswapnashilasya cha na jagratah. Meditation is not for one who eats too much or for one who does not eat at all adequately, nor indeed, O Arjuna, it is for one who sleeps too much or who is always awake. I think there is some spelling mistake here. Not is missing, Brahmaraji. Meditation is not for one who eats too much or for one who does not eat at all adequately, nor indeed. O Arjuna, it is for one who sleeps too much or who is always awake.
That nor is there, no? So that is the not.
Okay, nor indeed, O Arjuna,
Yeah.
it is for one who sleeps to. Okay, I
Yeah.
will read it once again. I'm sorry, I read it now. Meditation is not for one who eats too much or for one who does not eat at all adequately. Nor indeed, O Arjuna, it is for one who sleeps too much or who is always awake. Here, Krishna mentions the discipline with reference to eating required for meditation. He does not go into details but simply makes the point that the extremes in terms of the quantity of food eaten were not conducive to meditation. Later, he also talks in a general way about what one should and should not eat from the standpoint of the sattvika, rajasika, and tamsika aspects of food. There is a certain quantity of food that is acceptable to a person, and beyond that, one should not eat if one wants to be able to meditate. Thus, Krishna says here that for the overeater or the poor eater, there will be no meditation, no yoga, even though there may be bhoga, enjoyment, at least for the time being. And if there is too much bhoga, roga, disease may follow, just as it may for the one who eats too little. Yoga is the opposite of bhoga and roga. For the one who is a bhogi or rogi, a life of meditation and contemplation is not possible. Yoga nasti. Here, meditation refers to Saguna Brahma Dhyana and contemplation refers to Nirguna Brahma Dhyana as discussed earlier. In his commentary, I will read this once again. Please pay attention. There is a certain quantity of food that is acceptable to a person, and beyond that, one should not eat if one wants to be able to meditate. Thus, Krishna says here that for the overeater or the poor eater, there will be no meditation, no yoga, even though there may be bhoga, enjoyment, at least for the time being. And if there is too much bhoga, roga, disease may follow, just as it may for the one who eats too little. Yoga is the opposite of bhoga and roga. For the one who is a bhogi or rogi, a life of meditation and contemplation is not possible. Yoga nasti. Here meditation refers to Saguna Brahma Dhyana and contemplation refers to Nirguna Brahma Dhyana as discussed earlier. In his commentary of this verse, Shankara quotes from the Veda, Yaduha va atmasamitam annam tadavati tan hinasti yad bhuyo hinasti tat kaniyo na tadavati. It is from some Upanishad or Veda. He wrote. Shankara quotes from the Veda. The meaning is, indeed, the food that is acceptable to oneself in quantity and quality will protect, nourish, it will not destroy the person. The food that is more destroys, that which is less does not protect. Food eaten in the proper quantities will not bring about the diseases that destroy a person who habitually overeats. No specific amount of food is prescribed. You eat only to your own known limit. Similarly, if one does not take enough food, the food eaten will not nourish the person. It will not destroy the person, but it will not provide the necessary nourishment either. Thus, one who overeats, atyasnata, and one who undereats, anashnata, will not be fit for meditation. Atyashnata and anashnata. The yogi discussed here is a person who neither overeats nor undereats. He or she eats only what the stomach allows.
It is like
Shankara,
we read earlier, where initially the food that we eat helps us to grow. After a while, the food starts eating us. So we need to eat adequately, optimum amount, so that it just nourishes and protects the body. Either too much or too little is
They say
deleterious
no.
to this protection.
They say we have to live. We have to eat to live, not to live to eat.
very true.
And again, here it is good to remember the yogic diet, wherein the half your stomach should be of solid food, 1/4 should be liquid, and the other quarter should be left for air.
Air, yeah. Yeah, it is here. It is coming here. The same thing what you talked, Brahmaraji. Shankara quotes a vakya. Yeah, please go ahead.
Also they say, one Anjali is 2 hands full, 2 hands put together. That much is enough for the whole day, they say, 1 Anjali for each person, according to their hands.
Shankara quotes a vakya concerning the quantity of food to be eaten. There is a ardhamashanasya savyanjanasya tritiya mudakasya tu vayo sancharanartham tu chaturthama vasheshayet. It means half the stomach is for solid food, the 3rd quarter is for water or other liquids, and the 4th quarter is to be left empty so that there is enough space for the churning that takes place during the digestive process. For those who cross these boundaries, there will be no meditation. Naturally, a person who does not eat enough will be tired and will not be able to sit for meditation. And a person who eats too much will be sleepy, which is also a problem. Thus, there has to be a certain measure applied to the food that one eats. But please do not ask, Swamiji, how do I know when I have filled half of the stomach? When you feel like having another helping, don't. Just stop eating. That's all. Wow. That's so beautiful.
That's exactly what Nana had told us. How to. It's also this is also a technique to have a say of Dhamma. That is one, and of course you stop this. When we talk of this food and quantity, water and air, what comes to my mind is our blender. Those of us who are using blenders, of course, all the ladies would use. I think even the men over here would have used the grinder. if the grinder is too full of what you have to grind, there's not enough room for air or water. You may put water in there, but there is no room for air. You fit it to the brim, it will not move. That is the atyashnastu, the one who eats, overeats. You're filling the stomach to the brim. Similarly, under eating also, if you put too little quantity also, it will not work. It doesn't move. I mean, you will not be able to blend it. You need to have an optimum amount of the material to be blended, have water and air, and then it will move.
Yeah, that is such a good example.
Our day to day, reminding ourselves of this fact. Whenever we use the blender,
And suppose sometime to save the time, when you stuff it full, then it overflows and it comes up. No,
that is rogi.
the spell. Yeah,
That is becoming a rogi
yogi, correct.
completely.
Rogi.
Actually, stomach is the blender only, no?
That's
It
what.
grinds. Yes.
Correct. That is why I was reminded of the blender
Yeah,
thing.
yes.
So shall I read the last paragraph before
Yes,
going to
please
the
go ahead.
summary?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The discipline of sleep. Equally important to the discipline required in terms of the amount of food one eats is the discipline in terms of the amount of sleep one gets. There are people who sleep so much that even when they are awake, they are sleepy. This oversleeping goes along with overeating and a lack of exercise. For one who oversleep, ati swapnashilasya, there is no meditation, yoga nasti, nor is there meditation for the person who deprives himself or herself of sleep because he or she wants to meditate. Having heard that 4 a.m. in the morning is the best time to meditate, if a person goes to bed at midnight and gets up at 4 a.m. to meditate, the meditation becomes sleep in no time. In the past, when there was no electricity and people went to bed as early as it was dark, getting up at 4 a.m. was natural. But now the situation is quite different. In fact, there are people who wake up, go to work, and live their lives after dark. So, for the one who does not get adequate sleep, who is awake all the time, Jagrat, there is no yoga because having so little sleep, the person will be sleepy all the time. The unfortunate thing here is that both types of people, those who sleep too much and those who sleep too little, end up sleeping. Thus, Krishna says here, there is no yoga, no contemplative life for either of them. How then is this yoga to take place and for whom? The answer is given in the next verse. So that we can do tomorrow. If you want me to repeat anything, kindly let me know. We can just close our eyes and just Jai Gurudev, kindly share your takeaways for today's.
Actually, it happened to me today. Yesterday, my missus had made khichdi, And I think it was a little more or something, I don't know. I ate it. And I had slept up at 10:30 only, and usually I get up at 4:30. Today, I don't know. I got up at 5:45 because my students, they come at 6 o'clock for sadhana. So I just got up at 5:45. I did not take bath, and I just opened my hall and all that. And so just a little rice made me sleep that much. But I got up within the time only. That also okay. But I used to get up early and take bath and then all ready. I missed that today. And today only we are having that knowledge. Such a good thing, you know.
Bela, can you revisit the shlokas once? So we read the shlokas one more time, so then we can do manana on that. The shlokas that were covered today, I think, were yesterday's shloka. Today we did 2 shlokas, I think, right?
Yeah, Brahmaraji, could you please read? I will just share the screen.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, from the beginning, what I read today,
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
shloka. Yeah.
right. Actually, I will get my Bhagavad Gita book, because otherwise you'll have to keep going up and down.
No problem. I'll share the screen because there were 2 shlokas which I begin with. Yeah, here. These are important ones. So kindly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Samam kaya shiro grivam धारयन्नचलं स्थिरः सम्प्रेक्ष्य नासिकाग्रं स्वं दिशश्चान्नवलोकयन् प्रशान्तात्मा विगतभीः ब्रह्मचारिव्रते स्थितः मनः संयम्य मच्चित्तः युक्त आसीत मत्परः.
You want to read the meaning or you want to read the
Yeah.
shloka? Yeah.
No, just the meaning will be good. Holding oneself firm without moving, holding the body, head, and neck in one straight line, as though looking at the tip of one's nose and not looking in all directions, being the one whose mind is tranquil, who is free from fear, established in one's commitment to the life of a brahmachari. May that yogi, meditator, sit thinking of me, having me as the ultimate goal. युञ्जन्नेवं सदात्मानं योगी नियतमानसः शान्तिं निर्वाणपरमां मत्संस्थामधिगच्छति. Always connecting the mind in this manner, the meditator, the one whose mind is mastered, gains the peace which is centered on me, which is in the form of an absorption in me, which is the ultimate liberation. This Nirvana Paramam. And Evam Sada Atmanam. Yunjan, connecting the mind always with. So when you say always, it doesn't mean always you sit and meditate, but even in the wakeful state, whatever you're doing, if you can keep the Lord in your mind, as in everything you're doing is in His space, in that space of Paramatma. That is Sada Atmanam Yunjan. Like the example of Mirabai, Vitoba, all of them. It is like the tambura at the back. It's the background. It goes on and on, so that whatever we are doing, even in the wakeful state, if we are able to connect with the thought of Parameshwara, with the virtues and the lakshanas of Parameshwara, that itself is yoking yourself.
I'm sorry, Brahmaraji, I took you had finished this, verse 15, no?
Verse 15 is done. Yeah. Natyashnatastu yogosti na chaikantamanashnataha na chati swapnashilasya jagrato naiva charjuna. Meditation is not for one who eats too much or for the one who does not eat at all adequately, nor indeed, O Arjuna, it is for one who sleeps too much or who is always awake. This chapter 6 is so wonderful in that Bhagwan is giving us such beautiful pointers, practical tips with respect to how we need to meditate, and how meditation is not just a technique, it is life itself. It is the ultimate goal. Parameshwara in mind. And like Sureshji pointed out, it is being aware. See, even that little bit extra that anyone has can affect. Because ultimately the body is nothing but it is governed by all the gunas. Sattva, Rajas, Tamo guna. So little extra that we eat, the tamas is going to increase, of course. So you will not remain in that sattva.
It was only a khichdi. It was just a sattvic food. And until now, it had not happened to me like that. Today, I don't know, really. I didn't get up at 4:30, but I could get it within the time the students came. So good.
For me, it is the other way around. It is not so much about food, but it is about sleep. The previous day, I had a call. I was on call, and I was able to sleep only at 12:30 and got up at 4:30. So that is what I was just smiling at myself. And Swamiji was talking about, getting up at 4 is very good. So you sleep at 12 and get up at 4. It's not going to work. Earlier, there used to be, when sun down, because there was no electricity, people would just fall off asleep. So for them, it's very natural. Optimum sleep would be there and they would wake up at 4. So having a balance in not just in what you eat, but how you sleep. A well-rested mind is a mind that can have that, where yoga can happen, that union can happen. Otherwise, when you close your eyes, you just fall off asleep. Whether you are meditating or otherwise, throughout your day, the quality of the state of your mind also will be affected. If you either overeat or over or undersleep.
See, we have the two examples of you and mine, See, how nicely Guruji really had told when we were doing our Ashtavakra, that 33 days we used to do very seriously and all that. Then every day, the experiences, what we go through would lead to the knowledge itself, Similarly, it is happening here. Yesterday only it happened, and we got the knowledge also. So wonderful it is. Really wonderful. Good.
But I'm actually wondering, see, Gurudev, for instance, of course, we cannot compare ourselves to a Siddha because
Yes.
the the um, uh, the level at which a Siddha functions is totally different. We cannot, for instance, compare ourselves with him and say he sleeps at 2, wakes up at 4. He had actually mentioned that, I think, in the Mumbai
Yeah, yeah,
teachers
yeah.
meet, volunteers meet. He said, you must all say, Guruji, go and rest for a while. Because he says, I sleep at 2 and wake up at 4. That's different. For him, it's a different level of
Siddha,
functioning.
yes. Yes.
But somewhere, of course, I know we need to pay attention to the amount of sleep, the quality of sleep, and quality of food that we're eating. But I think after a certain level, maybe you'll go even beyond this,
That's
like
what
what
happens
happens
to
with
Siddha.
Gurudev. Hmm. So, till such time we reach that level, we will have to pay attention to these two. And maybe everybody else can also share. And again, the Parama Shanti that um, Swamiji was talking about, 3 different types of Shanti. When you attain that, you are beyond all of this. It is not opposed to thought, it is not opposed to ignorance, even. It's such a high state to be in, where everything is just happening and you're there at that level. It is happening in you. Maybe Percy ji can share a few things with respect to the last verse, or any of the other verses.
What struck me, I was just thinking about contemplating on it. When Nanaji taught us about Tattva Bodha, we learned that there is a Devta in charge of every organ of our body. And like when we are overeating or something, that organ, like you get a stomach ache if you eat too many gulab jamuns. So now the Devta there will be uncomfortable, isn't it? So can you unplease the divine from that point of view also? If we were to take that kind of a view and get ourselves to discipline, it's like a reverse psychology. Then slowly and slowly all these disciplines come in. I don't know, somehow now I don't have this at all. Like I would rather fast than overeat or something like that. If I don't want to eat a night meal, if it's past my normal meal times, I tend to avoid eating rather than eat and not be able to get up in the morning. I think over a period of time, the discipline is just set in.
Yeah, this eating is something that is such a difficult thing to see now. For instance, I have 3 meals a day. I know having 3 meals a day is is not what is prescribed. You'll of course become a rogi, but then um, there is this hunger that comes in. So probably, I guess all of this is to do with um, our concepts that
No,
I have to have 3 meals, isn't it?
according to your
That
prakriti, you may have 3 meals, you may have 6 meals. Is how much you eat in those 3 to 6 meals. A diabetic is told to eat maybe 6 meals, but very less quantity of food every time, so that the sugar, there is no shoot up in the sugar level. So it all, and hunger is all in the mind actually. If you look at
mm,
I look at it from a scientific this thing. Okay, what is the capacity of my duodenum? How much can it hold? With the jataragni, where all the chemical secretions take place to make the solid into semi-solid and liquefy it. That place, the duodenum is so small. It has a holding capacity of only maybe 300 grams, 400 grams. And then okay, we tend to eat. How much of food do we tend to eat in general? Then, keeping this in mind scientifically also, that food required to produce nutrition for every cell in the body is how much? And that hunger, which we say, is in the mind. So, is it required from that point of view? If we look at it, slowly, this awareness, this thought process, will get the discipline into us. Many a times
yeah,
if diabetes overeat or they eat the wrong foods. But when the sugar shoots up too much and then the doctor wants them, if the family members say, they say, "Kafi ke mar jana hai." Like let us enjoy life to the full, to the hilt. And then when the doctors say your sugar is 600 or something, it's not coming down, your kidneys will be affected. Suddenly that mood change comes into them. अभी खा पी के मर नहीं जाना है, अभी जिंदा रहना है. And then you want to stay alive and you want to be healthy also, then you have got to make the change in diet. Then that dawns on them that no, I need to eat less and I can't eat these particular items.
also more often people tend to eat based on the time. It is not that they're hungry and they eat. It is lunch time or it's breakfast time. It is dinner time. So time actually goads them to eat. But in the beautiful ancient wisdom that you shared, the first one, if I remember, is if you eat without being hungry, it is like poison because it'll only add to your undigested food in your system. Without the food, all the previously eaten food is not completely digested and you're not feeling hungry, you just stuff yourself again with some more food that will only add to the toxins. So, number one rule is to eat only when you are hungry, and number two is to eat according to the yogic diet.
Also, if you look at it, see, like so many people have this craving for this when you go for a wedding or something, the dessert, the gulab jamun, it's soft. How long does it take for you to consume a gulab jamun? Hardly a minute or two to chew on it and gulp it down. But look at the damage it is doing to the system inside when you tend to overeat the gulab jamuns. You have more than where there is capacity in the stomach. You overeat. So then what toxins are produced, what damage it is doing the undigested food in your system. Slowly and gradually, if you start thinking and mind is pleased for how long? A minute or two? Probably what you can do is chew on it and throw it out. Collect it in a garbage bag rather than let it go inside if you are that this thing fond of eating. Don't let it go into your system.
Right. I'm going to share this beautiful video, Gurudev's, of what is real. Everything that you think is real is actually not. That's such a beautiful thing in which he brings in this aspect of senses, how everything that we perceive from the senses is not there. How can you hold on to it? And I'm just reminded of this example of gulab jamun that you shared just now. For it gives us momentary pleasure, but later it causes a lot of lasting damage. So I think this should goad us to be watchful and use discrimination and when in what we eat and how much we eat.
State of the body and the mind when doing sadhana also. Like whatever you have eaten the earlier day, you have overeaten or you have eaten sweets, then how will your sadhana be? Are you able to perform to your 100% satisfaction like you normally do? I am not saying that you bend down and you have to touch your toes. You bend down to the extent you can, to the amount of flexibility you have. But your 100% according to you, are you able to do it after indulging yourself? If not, then let that awareness go. And secondly, what I'm saying is, if you have like that the divine is sitting, there are devis and devatas on every organ of your body, how can you displease the divine? How can you make it uncomfortable?
This is what I tell patients who come to me with stomach ache, and I ask them what they eat. And I tell them, see, all the junk that you're putting into your stomach, the stomach is revolting, it's rebelling, it's telling you, please, I cannot handle this. And that is why you're getting the pain in your stomach. So be mindful of what you eat, take care of your stomach, and feed it only what it can handle.
More than eating 2-3 meals, in between munching should stop. People have the habit of eating every half an hour something or the other. That I think is more harmful than eating 3 decent meals.
Right. And another thing I found very useful, this is what Sejal Didi had told us before the advanced course. This is what she does to in every advanced course. She says, you must chew your food nicely. You must actually, according to Ayurveda, it is you should drink your food and eat your water, so to say. So you should chew it so well that it becomes like water. Not most of the digestion begins in the mouth with the salivary enzymes. So you should allow that to happen and then you swallow your food. Generally, what we do is we are either busy talking or we're watching something or we're eating so fast. It's time bound and you don't have time for food even. So we tend to gulp down food. Then, of course, you'll overeat. But if you take your time to chew your food, not only are you allowing the digestive process to begin and go so well, the amount of quantity you eat actually will come down.
Also, they say 25-30 times you have to chew.
Mm.
Everything there's a strategy. So that you keep doing
Correct.
that.
And somewhere I read, I don't know whether it was shared here or maybe I looked it up somewhere else. The act of chewing itself is very uh, is health promoting. I think it leads to better quality sleep, or so. I'm not really sure what that link is, but the very act of chewing itself is health promoting.
That's why Western concept they give pacifiers to babies to avoid overfeeding, so that it keeps on sucking.
Yeah, but I have my reservations with the pacifier.
Yeah, you are a doctor. Yes, totally.
Yeah, it is
People
not
say,
natural. No, we
yeah.
never used a pacifier earlier on, right? So it is something that is added. Um, it has an addictive value there. You can, of course, let the baby suck at the breast for a little longer. That is fine. But otherwise, yeah, I would reserve my comments on the pacifier use. But
That's
then
why,
the act of chewing itself, that
yes.
is why the chewing has to be very good. So that could be a beginning where we, if in case we are not chewing that well, we could begin by starting to chew our food well, like Malti ji said, 28 to 32 times.
Also, while chewing, I mean, no TV, no mobile to be seen.
Of course.
We be in that gratitude that God has given and the people involved for giving us such lovely meals, and we are in that bhav state when we are
Yeah,
eating.
yeah, very right. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehamashrita. So we are feeding that the divine inside with that mind. Even the act of chewing, the act of eating, all that is, we bring in the make it prayerful. It becomes a yajna itself.
Also, it is said that, first 3 morsels you should chew 25 times. That is a mandatory. Later on, you can speed up. But these 3 morsels, you can't. That's one more input I came to know this.
There's a saying in English, don't make your intestines do the work of your teeth.
Yeah.
I think earlier I read somewhere there are rituals like how a household lady has to take a bath, etc. So everything was laid down. How she can sing prayers or bhajans and all that and cook her food in a nice state of mind. And then that affects the people who are consuming the food also. So there was a procedure laid down as to like how we have dharma principles, yeah, household principles, how a lady should, when she gets up, till she cooks her food and all that, how she should go about it. Because more relevant in today's time is in modern society, the thing is, okay, I sweat a lot while cooking and this and that, and I have to sweep and swab and all that. And therefore, I will take my bath after finishing cooking. So I feel fresh. I would say what they said was if you don't feel fresh, then take a second bath if necessary. But don't, before taking bath, don't cook. Guruji also said
Earlier,
there is dead skin that is removed when you sleep at night. So that comes off. So you need to change your clothes. You need to take a wash.
yeah, that is how earlier they used to do. They used to do muddy. I remember my grandmother, my mother's mother, after taking a bath, she would not let any of us touch her. She would say, no, I mean, that used to be that level of orthodoxy then, but it actually has its bearing now. It is there in that shaucha, there in that purified space, and they want to cook in that space. They do their prayers in that space without getting contaminated. They don't let anyone touch them at that point. So it has a very strong inner meaning. I think COVID now has given us brought out the aspect of shaucha again, where people socially distance and wear a mask and avoid touching and things like that. Shankari ji has mentioned here, my mother always used to say, your stomach is a temple, not a garbage bin. Always respect. Yeah, that's very true. I think we will close here if anybody else has nothing to share.
Jai Gurudev. I just want to add one more. Let me just tell
Yeah.
you, Miss, when before my marriage, my actually routine was like early to bed, early to like mother, father, both were like same. But after my marriage, when means it's a Bong family, they absolutely are different. The breakfast time was 10, 11 and all. And I had to follow all this, but my body, my migraine, cervical, so many problems I was having, in fact. Means I was unable to come out of this. Every alternate days, I used to take the migraine medicine and this painkiller and all. Now it's been almost 10 years. All of a sudden, I realized, what am I doing? I just decided and I informed my mother-in-law and my husband also. It was not an easy task, very tough, because they said, what will you do? I said, no, I will not have any dinner, but if I will not, means by 8 o'clock I will have it. And then it was little tough. And since it's almost 10 years, my all migraine gone, everything, means no medicine, nothing. I just follow sattvic good food, no non-veg and anything, in fact. So I can see means I feel so energetic, light body and everything. But still my husband, my kids and all this following the same thing. 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock is the dinner time, and I can see them, the problems and all. I am trying my best to change them. At least I'm an example also in front of them. So I thought just to share it, this is means
Very
I've
nice.
seen, I've gone through all this, and I know, and I've been in my office also. Everybody asks what happened, means how you're doing. So I always inform them. You see, this is the thing, and the first thing you do, happiness program. It will help you all, because you start from this. These so many things you learn, the knowledge and all. This is really, it's God grace that I have got all this in my life, and I've changed my life. Almost, I know what I've got. It's people, many people are waiting for moksha. I believe I've got my moksha. Means the way I'm living, it's my thinking, everything changed. I've changed. The same means the food and means how to. I always 6 to 6.5 hours I give, means I will sleep and all. So these I've changed my life, and I can see the difference. This is absolutely what is written is so true. In fact, Jai Gurudev, just I thought let me just tell
Very
you a little
beautiful.
mine.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Shankariji.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. That's such a lovely feeling to say I've already got moksha, no? That's what Gurudev also says. It'll not happen sometime somewhere. Only when you let go, that is it. You have it there. That's such a wonderful feeling. Yeah. So we'll close it today. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishnarpanamastu.